We've seen ANC will wrap up its consecutive National Executive Committee meeting at the NEC Lekgotla later today. This gathering was called to reflect on election outcomes and also formulate a plan of action for next year. Several ANC NEC members are set to brief the media on issues like crime and gender-based violence, immigration, local government intervention, as well as water issues, inclusive growth, job creation, investing in people, and also tackling the high cost of living. So to discuss these topics and more, we're joined via video link by Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, political analyst. Prof Ntsikelelo, good morning. Thanks for your time with the SABC at this hour.
Thank you very much for having me, Lizzie.
Prof, your initial impressions of the ANC's NEC meeting, the Lekgotla, and really some of the key outcomes that you expect. Talk to us from what you're observing from your vantage point.
I think the analysis of the ANC was on point. It was not off the mark. That the ANC has suffered a blow at local government level, in particular, because of the slow pace of service delivery. And I agree with them that the areas where they had setbacks are basically metropolitan municipalities or urban centers. And that is in line with what some of us have been saying, that there are two spaces of political power in post-colonial states, namely the urban centers and the rural section of the population. But I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating, because I mean, if I look at the interventions of government at local government level since, the early 2000s, there have been many. One of them that comes to mind is a program, Consolidate, to strengthen municipalities. But nothing has changed. If you look at the AG's reports, year in and year out, they're saying the same thing, that municipalities are misusing funds, people are not being disciplined. So it's all talk and no action. So there's nothing new that came out of the analysis, but it's a good analysis because it made the party to look back and look ahead. And I'm glad that they appreciate the fact that if they don't improve rendering services to the inhabitants, they will suffer more setback in the upcoming local government elections.
Prof, I want to get into your sentiment about the proof being in the pudding, well, in fact, in the eating of the pudding, because we're really talking about the reality on the ground. We're edging closer to the 2026 local government elections, and the country at large is plagued by triple threats of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And so given what has been put forth, how do you think the ANC plans to address the pressing issues of crime and GBV? What solutions can be expected? Even insights on the ANC's approach to immigration at large and how this is going to impact South Africa's relations with SADC, with the continent, and the geopolitical landscape at large?
Well, the ANC needs a major shake-up at the party level, because one of its challenges is ill-discipline, and the party appreciates that. But I don't think that it has applied, for instance, the step-aside principle in a consistent fashion. I think it has been used to purge some people who don't belong to the dominant faction. But I think to inculcate the values of the ANC in ANC members, they need to roll out programs of political education. I don't think that the ANC has been successful in doing that. Because one of the reasons why ANC members are not disciplined is because they lack political education. But on the international front, I think President Ramaphosa did reflect on the commitment of government on issues of human rights, on issues of rule of law, democratization, and so on. So I think they are going to forge ahead with their foreign policy, even though it's going to be interesting how they are going to manage some of the contradictions in the GNU, because the DA has a different foreign policy posture, for instance, in terms of its position regarding the conflict which is underway between Russia and Ukraine, and the one that is underway between Hamas and Israel. So I don't know how they are going to articulate a coherent policy position, given the fact that they are in a political arrangement with the DA.
Speaking about more issues, the issue of municipalities comes to the fore. You've got water issues, you've got the funding model as well that's been impacted. Talk to us about those dynamics that were addressed. Do you think it's sufficient? What also needs to incur so that meaningful change can come about in that front?
Municipalities are not only responsible to fetch, the garbage. They are responsible to grow the economy, to attract investment. Therefore, the people who work at local government level, they need to be professionals. People must be appointed on merit. At local government level, there's a concept of developmental government paradigm, which is in line with what government is trying to, achieve the developmental goals of developmental states. But that does not happen because the people who are employed are not the right people most of the time. So government needs to make sure that, especially at local government level, that people are appointed on merit, that they don't take things for granted, that administration is something that can be done by anyone. Administration is a profession. That's why even at university, there are programs like public administration and public management. So if they can professionalize the public sector, I think they will go a long way in terms of achieving their objective realization.
Prof, you heard the sentiments from Ntsikelelo painting that picture for today. Speaking to the balance of powers within the ANC, it's managing its own internal dynamics and also following the Government of National Unity formation, issues of factionalism within the party as well, a revival of municipalities at large, the party itself edging closer to that 2026 elections. What do you think is coming through this Lekgotla?
I think Ntsikelelo and myself, we speak the same language, that the damage is done, and the only way out for the ruling party now is to make sure that they render services to the inhabitants where they are governing. If they don't do that, I think they will suffer a worse blow in the upcoming local government elections. I think one of the things that came out of the deliberations in the Lekgotla was the appreciation of youth voter apathy. It's one of the political trends in the South African body politic. And I was over the moon when that issue was cited, because there has been a lot of denialism, in particular amongst the Youth League, regarding the issue of youth political apathy, that young people are not apathetic. But we saw that a lot of young people did not go to the polls. And one of the reasons is that if you look at, for instance, unemployment, it is sitting at 34%, and it is worse amongst the youth. So young people now are grappling with the question as to what's in it for them. They want to benefit from this democracy. So if the ANC wants to improve its electoral performance, it needs to respond to the plight of the youth. If they don't do that, I think they're going to suffer more than what they have suffered in local government elections.
And so targeting that youth vote, also looking at the voting trends this time around, the correlations between local and national, voting trends. We're also just looking at the potential risks that also come with that and the challenges that the ANC might also face at large in implementing its plans, because it is ultimately about implementation. The how becomes important, and also what really needs to be mitigated against.
Yeah, Lizel, you are raising a very important matter, the issue of policy implementation. Now, the ANC espouses the model of development of a developmental state from Asian tigers, from countries like Japan, China, Malaysia, and so on. But the reason why those countries achieved their policy objectives is because of disciplined bureaucracies. We don't have that in South Africa. Our bureaucracy is not disciplined. People come late, leave early. So long as we continue as business as usual, I don't think that we'll be able to achieve the things that we've set up for ourselves as a country. So the issue of professionalization of the public sector is of paramount importance if the ANC is serious about bouncing back to power.
Because it's about singing from the same hymn sheet, and given the mayors, giving the NEC members, all those are in attendance as well. Do you think that has been successfully achieved, and the message at large that is being communicated or sent to its members and to the public at large, do you think it instills enough or more confidence at this point?
Lizel, the ANC was voted, allow me to say this, out of power because one-party dominance is a thing of the past now. There is no ruling party now. The ANC is in a coalition arrangement. So the ANC was voted out of power largely because it broke the social contract. And because of that, it was disciplined at the polls. So people are not interested in, saying all the good things. People want to see a change for the better in terms of how politicians and public officials carry themselves. I think that will be an important political indicator in terms of getting the job done. So the analysis is fine, but I think now the most important thing is the implementation, as you pointed out earlier on.
Well, Prof, as you mentioned, the proof is in the pudding or in the eating thereof. Let's see the conversation there. For now, continue to monitor developments. Thank you for your time at the SABC. Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, political analyst, weighing in on the ANC NEC's final meeting in Lekgotla that is taking place today in Boksburg.